This is Scott Conditt for the Armory Life, and today we're talking about the CoolFire Trainer system, a dry fire training system that makes your dry firing experience a hell of a lot more cool. Now, for those of us who choose to carry a firearm daily to protect ourselves and others, there's one thing that I think no one will argue that you can get too much of, and that is quality training. One of the most commonly recommended training tools or methods, if you will, that everyone's been recommended, I'm sure, is dry fire training practice. And if I'm being completely honest, it's one of those things that I've always viewed more as a necessary evil, kind of a chore, if you will, to maintain those perishable skills. And a valuable skill and a valuable method is dry fire training for sure. But to me personally, it's something I've never really looked forward to, no matter how much I've tried to mix it up. That all changed recently when I got my hands on the CoolFire Trainer system. Essentially what this system does is provide you with a dry fire training product that can be effortlessly inserted into your own firearms frame, and it provides users with the sensation of recoil. Now, the system I received consisted of a CoolFire Trainer recoil spring and guide rod and barrel module, the latter of which actually stores CO2 gas. I also received a Soda Maker CO2 filling tank and device, and a visible red muzzle laser attachment for the CoolFire Trainer barrel. To use the CoolFire Trainer, I simply field stripped my Hellcat Pro and replaced the factory barrel and guide rod plus spring with the respective CoolFire Trainer components. The installation was smooth, and the weight of the pistol felt pretty much exactly like it did when the factory components were in place. Then I threaded the CO2 fill device onto a bottle of CO2, one of those that you can buy at a store that sells the soda making kits and supplies. And all that was needed to fill the CoolFire Trainer was to depress the barrel for about a second or two into the CO2 tank to fill it. Lastly, I threaded the red visible laser tip onto the barrel, and the result, when you depress the trigger, you get the sensation of recoil as it discharges that CO2. Now, when you press that trigger, a quick burst of CO2 gas discharges, as I said, and it cycles the slide, and the vibration of the hammer striker impact at the start of the recoil cycle actually activates that laser to give you a visual indication of your shot placement. So after my first test shot with the CoolFire Trainer, I knew this device was going to have a place in my training regimen because it provided me with the one thing my dry fire training has always lacked, and that's sensory feedback. Now, the instant my trigger depressed, the sensation of the pistol cycling surprised me, but in a good way. I wouldn't say the discharge of the CO2 is as snappy as firing an actual cartridge from the Hellcat Pro, but it isn't as light as most airsoft pistols I've worked with either. It felt like something somewhere in between. Now, what I really like about it though is that there's instant feedback, not only from the cycling of the slide, which necessitated resetting my aim on target thereafter, but also being able to clearly see the red visible laser on the cool reflective targets that came with this kit downrange. I could see where my hits were actually landing. Now, the module I received had the red visible laser, but an infrared option is also available for those who are training within that invisible spectrum. Whichever module you decide to work with, the laser's point of impact is fully adjustable using small adjustable set screws that are installed around the bezel of this module. Now, considering the extremely compact nature of the CoolFire Trainer barrel, I was impressed to find that I could get about 15 consistently forceful cycles or shots out of just one fill from that CO2 tank. Now, one of the big criticisms I had heard from trainers and people in the community about training with CO2 devices or training aids, such as airsoft pistols, if you will, was that the replica counterparts were made of mostly of plastic and they didn't weigh as much, and sometimes the manual of arms, of course, isn't going to be a one-to-one actual replica of the real-world firearms that you should be training with. And I agree, you should be training with the platforms and handling the firearms, particularly EDC, that you'll be using day to day. That's the beautiful thing to me about the CoolFire Trainer. You're only replacing the barrel and the guide rod and spring, and then threading on that laser on the front. And the weight, the mass, the manual of arms, the mechanisms are all true to form with what you'll be carrying later. I really like that aspect of it. Additionally, with the CoolFire Trainer, the sensation of that slide cycling automatically on trigger press versus manually resetting the trigger by racking the slide yourself in order to reset the trigger in between each and every shot is, in my opinion, more valuable, more realistic, and it's just more satisfying as a training experience to me. Now, this is not to say manual dry fire is without its merits, as it can certainly be valuable to work out specific mechanics and actions with the right mindset and discipline. For me, however, training with that CoolFire Trainer has just presented a superior option and more visceral option, in my opinion, as that sensation and feedback of the recoil, and any recoil at all, is better than sensing no recoil in my book. And a cool thing about the CoolFire Trainer system when you're training at home in a larger open space is with that red visible laser, you can set up targets downrange in my wife's fancy schmancy bedroom set, and you can actually get some practice in and see where your hits are landing. So guys, my main takeaway on the CoolFire Trainer system is, for me, it's made dry fire training something I actually look forward to. No joke, it's fun. It's kind of gamified, if you will, and I know it's very serious, discipline that we practice carrying a firearm, but it has made dry fire training something enjoyable to me that I really, truly, genuinely look forward to at night. I highly recommend you check it out. If you have a chance to do a demo or test one before you buy one, do so. And determine for yourself if you think it'd be valuable to help incentivize or encourage you to get out there and do more training. I would say that the right kind of training done more often is extremely valuable. And in my book, the CoolFire Trainer checks that box in those categories.